there, my name is Jason.
Hi everybody, and I'm Steve.
And today we're talking about growing up in the 70s and the 80s.
I'm going to stop you there, Jay, because I've actually never grown up.
No, I agree with that.
I took it upon myself at the age of 12 to decide never to actually grow up. Although my body physically has in some areas. I decided that, well, that's it. I'm just going to stay at 12 and I'm quite happy to do so.
I agree with that completely, mate. The reason I picked this topic, I've got lots of topics to kind of think about, and I've fast forwarded this one because the #1 downloaded film at the moment in the country is Top Gun, the original.
Of course it is.
Which is about 1984. And the #1 downloaded song at the moment, and I don't know whether it's just in Britain or whether it's America as well or the world, is Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
Is it really?
It's in Stranger Things.
Why is that?
It's in Stranger Things. Right. You got Stranger Things? Yeah, got it. So Stranger Things is set in the 80s, and they keep playing this Kate Bush song, and the kids are all, this is bloody good music. So they've all started downloading it. So I thought we need to kind of, if we do gather a younger audience, we need to start talking about how it was growing up in the 70s and 80s for us. And I think there were not so much the 70s, but I think the 80s was a fantastic decade. But we'll talk about the 70s.
I'm a little bit older. I'm that little bit older than you.
A lot older.
By a month or two. And of course, I was actually in the Navy. I joined the Navy in January '81. So, but I was, in reality, I was still a kid. I was 17.
Were you singing the Village People song when you joined? Because that was about that time, wasn't it? Is that what made you sign up?
Join. That was it. That's the only reason I went in. Absolutely gutted when I realised you didn't get a full headdress, feather headdress. I said, well, that's it. I'm going, but it was too late by that point.
Fabulous. So, but the 70s.
Certainly.
Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say certainly the 70s and obviously the decades. Don't you think it's ironic as well? Because you can absolutely define these eras. Absolutely. Who decides then that the 70s are going to end and the 80s are going to begin? I know it's a number and that's a stupid thing.
I think the Romans, decided.
79 ends it, but they are so different. They're so different. So we go through all the 70s with the chopper bikes and the clackers and all the other bits and pieces and spangles that the 70s are well known from. And then, hang on a minute, it's the 1st of January 1980. Bang, we'll get rid of all of that. And now we're going to go into the new romantics and we're going to put silly Phil Oakey haircuts on and whatever else we're going to do.
Well, I think
realise it.
Well, I think we remember certain sort of differences with the 70s. I mean, the thing that I remember about the 70s, because now 1976 was when punk rock started.
Okay,
so I'd have been 7, and I remember it being on the news, and I remember seeing there's a one famous scene where they've got two people who've got their hands around each other's necks, like strangling each other, and they're like dancing. But and I remember like the pogo in and it looked really violent. And I think as a 7-year-old, I actually thought it was like the zombie apocalypse. I actually thought that these like teenagers were suddenly sort of being brainwashed into this kind of crazed kind of state, and it was going to come out of London and it was going to consume the whole country. So I think the terminology was, talk about the music. Oh, yeah, it's starting in London and now it's starting to spread to Manchester and all that kind of stuff. And I think I actually physically thought that these like mad teenagers would be walking around the street attacking people, and that was kind of the thing I remember about the punk rock thing. But the 70s, I remember. Obviously, the hot summer of '76 and the ladybird plagues that we had. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
thousands and thousands of ladybirds. I remember the strikes. All the power going off every night. And it was and that was kind of the norm. And I remember the bread strike. Do you remember the bread strike?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So you couldn't get bread, and the only one that had any bread there was a little bakery that was a shop in Wigston called the Oven Door. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, you do remember it, yeah.
And me and my next door neighbour Scott, we would have to go after school and we would queue for an hour at least to buy bread to bring it home. And I remember one time we came, Scott had started to eat his bread as he came home, and I thought, well, and the second time we did it, I thought, well, he got away with that. He's doing it again. He got away with it. I'm going to do it. So I started to got absolutely hammered. I got
I can imagine your dad.
slapped silly. I was slapped silly for eating the bread. You know, not all of it, of course, but you know,
But for
fresh,
the other cross
warm
from the
loaf
other
of
end.
bread. Yeah, but so the 70s, I just remember sort of being like, and when the power went off, I always found it quite exciting. There was a kid, because you got the candles out. You know, oh, we're going to get the candles out. It's going to be strike tonight. We'll put the candles out and all that kind of stuff. And so I think from the 70s for me, I just remember the those kind of things, and things like we used to go to the pictures for 5p on a Saturday afternoon and watch some. It wasn't a blockbuster or anything, it was just a crappy film that they pulled out of the archives
Didn't
for
matter.
five pence.
It's
And
mad.
things were cheap. And then we kind of got into the 80s. And I think the 80s was more, for me, was obviously more about the music because I was getting to the teenage years then.
Yes.
And like new things came out, like I've got my wireless earbud in it. You remember when the Walkmans came out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were huge.
And Cliff Richard did the video, the Wired for Sound song. Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
And I think the 80s kind of, I just think everything got brighter. Obviously, clothes got brighter. People were wearing different, Miami Vice. We had all the pastel colours were in, and the girls had the big hair I think the music of the 80s is definitely the best decade. I think. Do you?
Well, I'll go with you on that. I think the 80s did produce some fantastic music. But I'm just going to rewind a little bit there, pardon the pun, because you alluded unwittingly, I think, to something that actually defined the era. When you said you and Scott used to go and queue for about an hour at the bread shop, your mum would send you there to go and get that.
Yes.
So you would have been 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Right. Can you imagine sending your kids out if they were so let's say your kids were now 7 or 8 years old? Would you dream of sending them to go into the town for at least an hour? Would you?
I used to walk to school when I started school at 4 or 5. My sister used to walk me to school, Debbie, because she went to the school that was the closest to our house, and then I went a little bit further on down Bell Street. Do you know Sainsbury's is now in Bell Street in Wixton? You know the Sainsbury's? Sainsbury's in Wixton.
No, I got to be honest, I haven't
been there. Yeah, you know Bell Street. You know Bell Street.
Yes.
There's a big Sainsbury's on Bell Street. Well, that used to be my school.
Oh right, okay.
And at 4 years old, I used to walk. Probably not too far, but on my own. And my sister would have only been 7, and then we would walk. Then I'd walk to her school when it finished. And bear on the cars around there and all the rest of it. I'd walk to her school, and then she'd walk me home. But the other interesting one about that is, you reminded me. I was thinking about. I must bring this up. I used to go swimming on my own, and I was only 6 and 7, and I couldn't even swim.
Jake,
I couldn't even swim.
But the freedom that everybody had back then. It was a different world. It was a completely different world. And I'm hoping we're going to be a bit lighter and have a bit more fun in this one. But we were talking about technology, alluded to in one of our previous ones there, and how it's making our world better and making our life better. And I wonder if it really is, because what it is essentially doing is making our world smaller. So we're able to, and it means we learn a lot more. We find out a lot more. So for normal people, that's a marvelous thing. But then for other people with not such great intentions, things are available to them as well that are a lot easier, that they perhaps wouldn't have thought of, or now gets put into their mind, or sparks something. But do you know, I look now and I just think to myself, oh my goodness me, would I want to? But we're diversifying. I'm going to talk now about growing up in the 70s, if that's all right, because I desperately remember very much so the electricity. It was only on for a 3-day week, and this was all linked in to the amount of coal that was being pulled out because the miners and everything.
Coal's on the strike, didn't
they? So they couldn't power the fuel stations, you see. So I remember my dad rigging up with a car battery, and we used to have an electric light. So that on the days,
posh kit.
banging, man. we used to sit and play Scrabble or stuff or something along
Wow.
those lines. Of which this is actually quite hilarious. I was born in '63. When I went to little school, they introduced a thing called ITA, which
Yes,
is
I did ITA. I did ITA. Ruined me.
so
Ruined me.
if the object of that was to produce a generation of illiterate morons, I think it did incredibly well. If, however, it was designed to make us more coherent and better spellers, well, it failed miserably, didn't it?
You need to explain what ITA is now for the audience.
Okay, so ITA was not the alphabet as we know it, A, B, C, D, E, but you had these special characters that made the sound of the word that you were saying. And one of the ones that I remember vividly was
what you're saying.
Sound, the ooh sound.
What was the ooh sound?
Well, the ooh, so it was kind of like a W, but with a 0 in the middle of it. So it went, yeah, and it was two. So if you were going to, it would be a T, and then the ooh sound.
Well, I remember coat. Do you remember coat? Was a C, and it was like an O and an E together, and a T. So the idea of ITA was that every word that you wrote was how it sounded. So things like cat and mat are very easy, but I'm trying to think of a different one now. Think of a word now that kind of sounds different.
Well, you're thinking about it.
So love would be LUV, wouldn't it? Love would be LUV. That's probably where it came from when people abbreviated it. So every single word. So you learn to write in one particular way, and then you get told, "Oh, that's all wrong. You've got to write in a different way."
And as soon as you'd mastered it, you got told, "No, that's all wrong." So they did a series of Janet and John books. Do you remember
Janet and John? I vaguely remember John. Remember Roger Red Pirate, Gregory Green Pirate, and Billy Blue Pirate? Do you remember those? Remember them?
And they used to be written in ITA. And then when you progressed through ITA, you then got exactly the same piggying books, but written in the normal way. What a disastrous idea.
I think I was the last year that they did ITA. They scrapped it after my year. They decided the kids were thick enough.
I'm not surprised. So in consequence, people of Jay's and mine age, we are atrocious spellers, and it's never left us.
I don't think I'm not a bad speller if I think about it, but sometimes words just do evade me completely. This is what I mean. Dyslexia was probably never even heard of until that time.
No.
I think ITA invented dyslexia. But yeah, what other things do I remember about the 70s and the 80s? I think obviously these days kids have more sort of diversity, as in things to distract them. Because television was shit. I mean, there was only 3 channels. You had kids' TV from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 5 every night, and then it was kind of adults. And even like Sundays was like variety shows, and
it was.
Wheel tappers and knockers and wheel tappers or something.
Game. Wheel tappers and shunters club. Well, that's railway. So a wheel tapper was a genuine job. A genuine job.
Really?
On the big old steam engines, they had big cast iron wheels, and obviously the bars from the pistons used to come and drive these big wheels, you see. And if they had a crack or something, then it could be really disastrous because the wheel would collapse, and you can imagine the train derail. So they had a certain ring to them. It's not a joke, it's true. So they had a certain ring. And people were employed to go and tap the wheels and listen to the ring. So if it went ding,
cracks,
and if it went dunk, dunk, they knew there was something wrong with it.
Oh wow, never knew that.
Yeah, genuinely. And then the shunters were the people that literally just moved the engine from the stations into the sidings. That's it. That's all they did.
That's still a job. That's still a job.
That is still a job. Yeah, we call them the shed men. Yeah, still there. So wheel tappers and shunters.
The other thing, so we never had much television. We had Top of the Pops on a Thursday night at 7, which my dad hated.
Jimmy Savile.
my dad ate Top of the Pops. He'd sit there. If he let us watch it, it was very rare he let us watch it. But if he did let us watch it, he'd sit going all the way through it. He's a puff. He's got lipstick on. He can't sing. He's not playing the keyboard. Look, he's only using one thing, and that's not a musician. And all that kind of stuff. Although he did kind of like he thought Boy George was quite talented. I think that was probably the only one that he kind of saw as a genuine talent. I'm trying to think now. What else? There just wasn't much television. Blake Seven was another one I really enjoyed. I just really liked that because I like the science fiction and stuff. I remember the first Star Wars coming out. I went with my dad to see that at the cinema.
Yeah. What was that? 77?
79, I think that came out.
Was it? Yeah, I'm sure there's hundreds of people now all going, what? Don't you know your stuff? The fashion was another thing. So one of my earliest memories was a thing called Borstal bags. And there were these trousers that they were, bear in mind, we were skinny little legged kids. You know, at the end of the day, we probably had 2 bits of cotton hanging down from our pants, is the reality. You used to have these massive wide trousers with as many pockets as you could get in them.
I vaguely remember them. Were they like pinstripes or something?
What?
Pinstripes or something. Were they like pinstripes?
You could get them pinstripes, yes, you could. And the waistbands were massive. So you used to have something like 4, 5 buttons on the waistband.
Oh,
so the waistband would start there and it'd end just below your blooming chest, if I'm honest with you. And then we had these shoes. I don't know if this was just for us. Bear in mind, Jay, of course, we were in the posh end of Oadby. You know, none of your Wigston stuff. And we had these shoes. They were so bizarre. It looked like plywood soles on these shoes.
Yes, I remember them. A bit of a heel.
But that was them. And we used to have Blakeys or Segs or whatever.
Blakeys, I remember them. Yeah, you put them in your shoes to make a sound.
Were treacherous when you tried walking. The amount of people that would slip over and blooming, because when you're walking, if you put your heel down and you got your Blakey or your Seg or whatever it was on the shiny floor of the corridors, that'd be it. Your leg would go out from underneath you, and then everyone would find that a marvelous opportunity to come and kick you or stamp on you or whatever.
If you're from Oadby, so you're from Oadby, which is the posher part, and I'm from Wigston, which isn't the posher part, and they're about literally 10 minutes away in the car.
Yeah.
And I thought this when I watched the first video through that we did the other day, or we did last week, because you've got a great voice for this kind of stuff. And we were talking about Ken and Barbie. You were going Ken and Barbie, and I was going Ken and Barbie. Because that's how different. You speak so much different to the way I speak, yet we're only 10 minutes away from where we live. Why is that?
No, isn't it?
This isn't the Navy. I mean, I'm guessing you're not picked this up anything. I suppose it's got some inclination of the fact you've travelled a bit, but your voice is so different.
Isn't that weird?
Your accent is so different to mine. Because I was thinking about this. I wanted to ask you, because obviously, as I say, you don't very often listen to yourself speak, but watching it back, picking up on how actually northernish my accent sounds with the way that my Y's become I's. And I was thinking, Steve must have grown. He couldn't have lived. I know you lived in Oadby, but I was thinking he must have lived in Oadby probably when he was an older teenager or something. And he must have lived somewhere down south or something. You've got such a different accent to me, which is shocking.
Now you say that, that's really bizarre. Your brother-in-law, John, he's Broad Leicester. He sounds completely different again, and he's 10 minutes further the other way, isn't he?
So he was South Wigston, and again, not wanting to draw lines, but I think Wigston was a little bit posher than South Wigston.
Yeah, it was. There was no way to get it.
But the voice is definitely different. Yeah, mad.
Isn't that
really
mad? Never thought of that until this point in time.
That you've just moment in time. Absolutely. So, so let's go more 80s then now.
Let's do the 80s.
I think the music was better in the 80s. I think the fashion was a lot more elaborate. And I think the other thing about the music compared to today is you had more elaborate characters. You look at people like Adam Ant with his line on his face, and Spandau Ballet had their kind of like particular look, especially early on, and you got Phil Oakley with his big long flicky hair and stuff like that. You don't get that anymore in music. You know, there's no kind of big characters. Ian Durer, he was 80s, wasn't it? Or 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
there's
the
no big
fact that
characters in music anymore.
you
Boy
don't. The
George.
fact that they're having to draw on the old music today just speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Boy George, do you remember, and most people will remember, the first time you ever saw him on Top of the Pops?
Yeah.
I remember going to school and everyone was like, "Oh my God, is it a bloke? Is it a girl?" And you look now and it seems strange that we even questioned it but at the time, to see a man who was dressed so feminine, because he wore like trousers with a long shirt, didn't he? It almost looked like a dress.
That's right.
And and obviously the makeup and the long hair and all that kind of stuff. And it was so different. And we kind of questioned, you know, was he a man or a woman? Whereas that androgyny now is kind of not such a big deal. But there were big characters, and obviously if you followed them, you know, I remember my cousin was really into Boy George, and she would dress a little bit like him. You know, she would kind of put the plaits in her hair and stuff like that, and so you could see who the fans of the band were. Whereas I don't think you get that anymore. You've got no big characters because there's no. Yeah. I think the art's gone out of music. I think it's more about the singing voice. And I think the art, it took the characters and the art out of it.
Well, you've got to remember, Jay, the 80s was the birth of the music video. So Frankie Goes to Hollywood, things like that. You know, Michael Jackson's Thriller. They were like mini productions in their own right.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it was all a novelty. So whereas, in fact, I seem to think, was it Aha did one of the very first where they
Take On Me, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and it was like we were all like, "Whoa, that's absolutely incredible stuff." So, as well as being able to sing, they had to have that artistic merit as well to be able to produce that type of effect.
But we've still got that. We still got that now, but they concentrate more on dancing and stuff like that. Whereas they're missing the kind of just being great characters. So yeah, we are missing those fabulous characters, and I can't think of the last time anybody kind of came on the scene. You got a few rappers that are a little bit more kind of out there, but I can't think of anyone that's kind of came on the scene recently that's been really kind of like notable for being a little bit more what's the word, flamboyant and individual. So. That was good about the 80s, and of course we had no mobile phones. Although we did start to. I had one in my car, if you remember. I always had a car phone back in the day.
Yes.
And which seems weird now. And I remember when we started to go onto the handhelds, we were quite reluctant to do that because we liked the idea of having it in a car. You know, we just liked the kind of. I don't know. I think it was the case that you couldn't get hold of you all the time. You know, it was more of a work phone then. Whereas now you never switched off, do you? You never switch off.
Again, is technology helping us? I don't.
Well, I think personally, like I never was a person to read the news. So unless someone told me about something disastrous happening in the world, I wasn't really aware. Because if I caught the news, I didn't really listen to the radio. I obviously worked long hours. And actually in a lot of ways I was happier because I didn't know what was going on. And now, you're on Facebook and stuff and you see things like, things about the way animals get treated in the world and all the starving children and pay £3 a month for this and that and the other. And you kind of realize what an absolutely vile place the world can be. And I don't think we had that. We were kind of more oblivious.
Innocent.
Because we didn't have the knowledge to know what was going on. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing in equal measure, I think.
Again, you know how my brain works. So I'm just picturing you and Scott at 7 years old queuing up for your bread. Of course, there's no phones or anything like that, and neither of us now would dream of sending our kids. Even Charlie now, she's 13 with a phone, so I could be in contact with her all the time. I'd still think twice about sending her to the shop now.
My oldest daughter is 20. You've got this stage coming now where she's going to want to be an adult. She's 20. She's 13. She wants to start doing adulty things. So she's going to want to start going. I mean, I remember when my oldest wanted to go what they call the nappy night. There was a nightclub in Leicester, and they used to have a 13 to 18-year-old night
Oh, okay.
on a Tuesday night. And I remember wanting to go and do that. And we were like, well, no. I mean, 13 to 17. So 17 is a big difference to 13.
Huge, yeah.
And you don't know what it's like. You don't know how they are they going to be safe? What sort of people are going to be there? They're going to be trying to give them drugs. You've got all these, as a parent, you've got all these things going through you. So you've got really hard time. And because you've only got one, Charlie will have it probably quite hard.
Yeah.
But see, with my oldest always says that the youngest got it easier. But because she'd done these things first and it'll be okay, by the time you get down to the third one, so I've got 3 daughters, by the time you get down to the third one, they get away with it all because it's been done and it's been okay.
Yeah.
So they get it like easy. But even now, my oldest is 27. Paige is 27 years old. If she's gone somewhere for a weekend and she's driving, I'll say, just when you get there, just text me. Just so I know. And she lives on her own. She doesn't live at home. And I'm like, just text me so I know you got there safe, and all that kind of stuff. So that never actually goes. But like I say, but I don't think our parents even. I mean, even like you'd go out to play, and it'd be like, come back when it starts to get dark before it gets dark.
Yeah.
And you literally
have a theory. I don't think they cared.
I don't think they cared. I don't think they give a shit.
Kids would cheat back then. Yeah, well, we'll have another.
Well, you've got to remember, I was 4 or 5 anyway. So by the time they got down, to me, they didn't really absolutely bother. They didn't even know what you're up to. They didn't care. And if they knew what,
who are you? Are you sure you're one of mine?
It was literally come back Saturday morning. They were like, okay, it could be sleeting outside. I'll just go out and play. Yeah, get out from under my feet. Just go out and play. Yeah,
off you go. I remember pulling wheelies on my bicycle the wrong way up the A6 through Oadby. The wrong way. That's how few cars were. So this was after school. You'd come out of school, and in fact, they'd only just dual carriagewayed the A6 then through. Do you remember where Invicta Plastics was?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So literally there, we used to live almost on that corner, and this is the day before there was even traffic lights there. And I remember honestly pulling wheelies the wrong way up the A6. There was no cars. There just wasn't any cars.
Yeah. No.
And that's phenomenal, isn't it? And something else that well, we were just doing our little pause thing there, struck in my mind. We're talking about 1980, all right? That was how long ago? 40 years ago? So put that into perspective. From 1980 back the opposite way, take you to 1940.
Oh no, that's shocking.
What? So it's like we're talking the difference between 1940 to 1980 is the difference from the era that we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but I mean, I even think like when I turned 50, obviously, nice round number, half a century, and I don't feel like my life's been. Like I've been on the planet a long time, really, in the grand scheme of things. Life's been very quick and very short, isn't it? But I think when we were at school learning about history in the 70's, let's say 1980s time, and you go back not 50 years, but 100 years from 1980, you're looking at 1880, and then you go back to 200 years, which is only 4 times my lifetime, which is not a lot of time. And you go back to 1780, and then you look at the monarchs were killing people just left, right, and centre because there were different religious views, and people didn't have running water and toilets and all this kind of stuff. And you think 200 years, 200 years is nothing. When you get to 50, you realise how little. And when you're doing history at school and you think about all that time. And it seems so far in the past. And it wasn't. It was not that far in the past. And you think when your parents were learning about it at school, my God, they were just even like the Wild West is the late 1800s.
Yeah, that's true,
and that seems absolutely mad. I mean, we were talking about gun laws the other day. It wasn't that long ago where what we see in the movies as the Wild West was the thing.
No. That was only 1880s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
So time. And anyone who's watching this who's young and thinking, "What a pair of old bastards these are talking about this shit like this," you're in for a shock. You are in for a shock because you're going to blink one day and you're going to think, "Oh my God, I know exactly what that was all about now," because that is what life is like.
I remember going to school, Jay, and I had 10p for 10p every day, because you were about going to the movies for 5p, weren't you? For my 10p, this is honestly true, I could get a can of Coke, which was 6p, a bag of crisps that was 2.5p, and a bunch of fruit salads and blackjacks with the other 2.5p.
Yeah, half p. Half a pence.
Yeah.
You know, you had a half a pence piece.
Yeah, you did.
You know, if you found a half a pence piece, and you can go out and buy some sweets for that.
Yeah, 4 blackjacks for half a p.
I can't believe that we still have ones and twos, to be honest.
No.
I'm surprised that you think how long ago the half a pence got phased out. I'm surprised that ones and twos are not gone by now. To be honest, I tend to throw them away. Like,
throw them away. Then you've got far too much money.
No, if ever I get twos and ones, I mean, I haven't used cash now for like 2 years. I don't even bother with it. I just use my phone for everything. If I've ever got twos and ones, I'll always put them. I just don't want them. I don't want them.
You know, if I see 2p or 1p on the floor, I'll pick it up.
Will you really?
Oh, yeah.
Thing is, you need to be following me around. You know, when I lived in Australia, they have twos and ones in currency, so you can buy something for 99p, but there is no £2 and £1. There's no 2 and 1 pence piece. So if you buy something for 99p, it's $1. You with me? So
why not just call it $1?
It's just rounded up or rounded down. That's how it is.
I wouldn't leave there. I would not leave there until I got my penny.
No, you'd be a long way, mate. You'd be a long. They could what? Back
They could back it.
I thought you said fax it.
As long as I got it, then oh my God, no! I will stop and I'll pick up anything like that and then stick it in a jar.
Fax machines.
Oh, fax machines, marvelous inventions.
Send me a fax.
We still have some. We still have some in our industry.
When I've been doing some sales calls, I've noticed that customers still advertise their fax number. And I rang them up and said, have you really still got a fax? They were like, yes, people still want to send them. So for people who don't know what a fax is,
incredible.
This is pre-emails. You could literally get a piece, a bit like a scanner. You get a piece of paper with all you know, if you're doing a quote for somebody or something, you send it on the fax and you stick it on this thing like a photocopier, and it will scan it through, dial a number, and they'll get a copy of it at the other end. Marvelous, marvelous.
It's a brilliant bloody thing. Favorite TV program of the 80s? Then, what was your favorite TV program?
Miami Vice.
Okay, yeah. Good
I wanted to be Don Johnson.
Well, you are.
I wanted to dress like Don John. I've got the pink t-shirt on today, but you know, the t-shirt with the jacket and the white trousers and the espadrilles, even though it was crap in Leicester weather-wise that summer, but we put the espadrilles on, and the best of it was you get a nice pair of white espadrilles. They weren't white very long, and you also remember that. And then you got this whitener, and you put this whitener.
Whitener.
It was like Tipex. So you'd end up with, rather than having a fabric shoe, you end up with a plastic shoe because you've got this whitener on it. And every night I'm going outside, get the whitener on it. You'd whiten them all up.
But they never bent properly after that, did
absolutely
they?
No, but you get like little crispy bits coming off them and stuff. What about yours?
I had a yellow pair. I remember having a yellow pair of espadrilles.
I had a blue pair, a yellow pair, a white pair, a green pair. I had all sorts. I was wanting to be Don Johnson.
Fantastic. Good fashion, though, to be fair. Everyone looked good as well.
Yeah,
do you remember the big shoulder pads and stuff?
Yeah, we had a bit of shoulder pads.
Madonna all that out, and Tracy Ullman.
Yes. So what was your favourite TV show?
Of the 80s? I was probably still very much into Top of the Pops, to be truthful, even then. Yeah.
I think the one thing one show I did like, I really liked, was the 80s.
Oh, yeah. You fool!
But the thing is, B.A. Baracus, Mr. T, you'd never seen anyone like him, you know, with the gold chains and the mohawk. And he looked so kind of intimidating. And you kind of like, it was really hard and standoffish, but you kind of knew he had that soft side to him, you know.
Yeah.
And every now and then. Sorry?
Was he the one who couldn't fly? He used to have to knock
him
out.
Yeah, they used to drug him. Didn't they? Every time he couldn't fly. But, you know, and he was such a character. And he was the draw for that. I think the show was made around him, which used to really piss George Peppard off. because George Peppard was the big actor. He was the actor. And Mr. T was I think he used to be a bodyguard, didn't he, for Muhammad Ali?
He did,
And I think he did. I think this was after Rocky, so he did Rocky, and then
he did. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Then they brought him in for this, and of course he was the big draw, and all the kids wanted to have his autograph and stuff like that. No one was really bothered about George Peppard, and so that used to piss me off. But that was a good show. That was one I liked because no one ever got killed. There were all these guns and everything. Nobody ever got killed. They'd throw there'd be a big smash and the car would get broken up. Then you'd always see the guys running out of it. Like, we're okay. Yeah. Nobody got hurt.
Yeah, that's it.
That was the 18.
It's quite funny, isn't it? So to encapsulate the 70s was dominated by miners' strikes, power cuts. There was austerity. There was
no
not
future.
A lot of money around.
One in 10 in unemployment.
But do you know what? From a kid's perspective, it's always going to be a good time. So your fond memories are from just a couple of years down the line, really, the crossover period to the early 80s. And I would imagine that everybody will look back with fond nostalgia, irrelevant of how old they are, to an age where everything was kind of more innocent, but that was your life as opposed to the era. But there's no denying the music of the 80s. Fantastic.
Yeah, my kids look. I mean, I love music, and my kids have always listened. And I've got an eclectic taste. My music taste is quite varied, and my kids are always in the car listening to various bands and that. And they've always kind of took them on. I mean, Arissa loves Billy Idol.
You've always been into him.
Always. Yeah, she bought tickets for us a few years ago, and we all went to see him, and she absolutely loved him. But I say the kids are rediscovering Kate Bush, and hopefully they'll kind of rediscover some more of the really, really cool music that we had back in the 80s. Yeah.
You can never change quality. It always shines through. So
but I think always with the music, it brings back so many memories, doesn't it, as well, of sort of times and things. Yeah. Definitely.
Can I just say something, Jay?
Sure.
I remember we said we were going to make our things shorter. Do you remember?
Yeah, we've excelled ourselves today.
We're knocking on the door of nearly 2 hours now.
Well, maybe this is going to have to be, we have to break this down into even smaller bits, part 1 and part 2 of each one. We'll see. But anyway, well, the original one I did 3 because I thought we might have nothing to talk about. You might start and just do 5 minutes. So this has been longer. So we'll draw this one to a close then this time, shall we?
So 70s and 80s, good era. Certainly from a kid's point of views.
Absolutely. Now, next time, I've got 3 subjects that I kind of feel are linked together, but we're going to have to separate them, and we may have to do them over a few weeks because I think these are going to be quite long ones and they're quite deep. It's something that I've got some quite elaborate theories on things. So, 1, we're going to talk God, the Bible, and religion.
Awesome. Okay.
2 will be aliens.
Oh, they are linked.
And 3 will be the origin of mankind.
Oh, this is fun. Okay.
I've got some theories.
Looking forward to that.
So these are going to be really long discussions. So we might have to break them down even further, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. So that's what we're looking forward to next time. And I think that people will want to hear, after they've heard what I've said, I've talked about my theories with people before, and some people just laugh at me and want to think I should be locked up. And other people think, oh my God, I think he's onto something here. So we're going to talk about these next time. And I'm looking forward to it. Really am, mate. Lovely to see you. I'm off to Sheffield now to see my friends.
I was there day before yesterday.
Well, we're going to go out and hit all the pubs. And so I'll be hanging tomorrow. But have
love at Sheffield.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. And
see you guys. Have fun. Thank you for watching us.
Yeah, and we'll speak to you next time.
Cheers for now.
Goodbye.